bodies and human brains, because the brain is the interface. The brain's got something to do with telepathy, even though it's a fundamental spiritual ability. Hardware and software work together. You can have advanced software, but if the hardware's not right, the software won't work. So that's got something to do with it. Now, this is all part of your question about who's running the planet. Behind the scenes here, there is an invisible game going on. I won't use the word war. There are good aliens and there are bad aliens, and they're very, very probably occupying human conditions and playing things out. And they're probably hunting each other. And when Bob Dean said that there are human-looking aliens walking the halls of the Pentagon, and some of them are being hunted, which is what we were told by our source, who we call John. What do we call him? John Roby. John Roby, who's a character in a movie, because we like calling our pseudonyms characters in movies. He was Tony Dodd, who is now passed on, the very well-known British UFO researcher, very widely respected. He's a wonderful man. I never met him personally. He communicated to us quite intensely. He says these guys are being hunted down. What he never told us, specifically, probably because he never knew, is it the good guys who are being hunted down by the bad guys, and the bad guys who are being hunted down by the good guys, you see.
The bad guys are being hunted down by the good guys?
Or the other way around, or possibly both. Who knows what's going on out there. It's just the idea that when Tony Dodd, reported on our site as John Roby, and confirmed by Bob Dean, saying that there is one race, this is pretty much what Bob Dean said from memory. He said that there is one race which he has been told about that looks exactly like us. You wouldn't notice them if they sat next to you in a train. You'd never notice them if you met them at a party. You'd never notice them if you were working for them or with them, or had them working for you, or if they applied for a job in military intelligence. You wouldn't notice. They're just human. And bridging slightly over to that, this is something that Henry Deacon, Arthur Neumann, said over and over again. He said, they're humans. They're people out there. They're just like us. Some of them look a little bit different, some of them have slightly different skin, some of them are big, some of them are small, some of them have got different shaped eyes, but hell, we have that on planet Earth as well. Why do you think we all look so different? It's because we've got genetic components from all these other different races, and they're all slightly different, but fundamentally, maybe with the odd exception, they've all got 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, 2 ears, 2 eyes, a nose and a mouth. And a brain that's up here, and they've got their own chakra system, and they've got their own biology. But they're pretty much human. It seems to be the template for this galaxy, at least, maybe with 1 or 2 exceptions. And if some of those humans are so similar to us that you couldn't tell the difference, I'm sure they're here. They're probably very brave volunteers doing their own thing. And if any one of those is watching this video, come contact us, because we'd like to interview you.
I personally want to interview a reptilian, if they can speak.
Yeah, you probably have to have an intermediary to pick up their telepathic contact. One of the things, going back to, this whole thing isn't going in a straight line, but what Clay and Sean Pickering told us was that the disclosure which they have been, the disclosure program which they have been told about by their US Navy source in great detail concerns 2 extraterrestrial races. They didn't know about any of the others. They said, nobody knows what the Greys are doing. They're doing their own thing. Henry Deacon told us that. They said, we don't know what those guys are doing. They're doing their own thing. Quite interesting. He talked about a reptilian race who are subservient to another race, which is a silicon-based life form that is not humanoid, that has got tremendous abilities, but is so alien in every sense of the word that it's really hard to understand what it is that they want, how they operate, what they're, anything about them at all, because it's a totally different paradigm. They're just crystals. They're crystals, basically. They're crystals that can apparently move and levitate and communicate telepathically, and they can change their shape because just like you'd imagine a big clever crystal would, it just grows something out the side of it, which is another part of the crystal. I don't know much about this, and it's a very wild story. And they don't like the environment of planet Earth because it doesn't suit their bodies very well. And so this is a novelty in terms of UFO researchers, in terms of UFO research. And they've had a bit of a tough time with their story because everyone says, oh, this is crazy, this is nonsense. So they don't have many people who are believing them. And but their source, their US Navy source, is part of a team of 6 who has been surgically modified, which apparently is quite a traumatic process. He's been surgically modified to be able to communicate with these beings, and he's had deep interaction with them. But one of the reasons why there are debates about whether to trust them or not is because they don't answer many questions and they don't reveal many facts. But everyone just feels wonderful when they're in their presence, and they seem to be benevolent, but they're also withholding a lot of information. But they're alien. How do you figure this out? Everyone's still trying to work it out. Nobody knows. There's more about this in this big interview, 4-hour interview, that we haven't released yet, and I've got to do this in the next few days because this is now overdue. There's quite a lot that needs editing. We got cut off a number of times and had some problems and so on. The race that's subservient to them is a reptilian race. He said that their source believes that they suffered an extinction level event. They lost their planet. He says, this is their source. When I say he, I'm referring to their source. We haven't met them directly. We've been invited to meet them. We haven't met them. He says that the reptilians, all they want to do is to walk around. All they want to do is to walk around. They spend their life in big spaceships. They don't have a planet. Apparently, it fits. It sort of fits. What do they look like? He said, imagine a miniature T-Rex. Big teeth. A tail. Scales. They weigh 500 kilograms, 1,000 pounds, 2.5 meters tall, 8 feet high. They're very, very strong. They are a warrior race. They're highly intelligent. They're very ruthless. Another source of ours has described these beings as, imagine the instincts and the ethical level of responsibility of a crocodile, but with very high intelligence.